have come to an end. It is now time for the football to do the talking then. All eyes on the MetLife Stadium here in New Jersey then, as Brazil take on Norway in one of the mouth-watering round of 16 games. So as the players get themselves ready for kickoff, let's hand you over to your commentary team for this one. It is the former Scotland assistant manager Mark McGee, who is alongside Joe Shennon.
Thanks, Natalie. For the round of 16, it is a titanic clash. The World Cup's most successful ever nation meets the bright new golden generation here to make history. The might and prestige of Brazil, the exuberance and fearlessness of Norway. Finally, the Norwegians have lived up to their World Cup billing, and there can be no greater stage for Erling Haaland to further prove he's at the peak of his powers. The Brazil consensus seems to be that this is far from a vintage class of 2026, but they have a serial winner in charge and an unmatched pedigree in this competition. This, they feel, is their tournament, and Brazil are out to win it again. Start spreading the news. This could be the tie of the round, and it is live on Talk Sport. Fireworks went off at the end of the anthems there in the colours of both Brazil and Norway. Brazil with the canary yellow and blue shorts with white socks. Norway, red shirts, white shorts and dark blue socks. This is a spectacular setting, 5 miles east of Manhattan. The skies are cloudy, the air is warm, and Mark McGee is alongside me in the commentary box. Mark, that midfield battle feels extra key to me today.
It does, and I think that there's a little bit of a disadvantage to the Brazilian team in losing Paquetá. It changes the kind of chemistry of those three across the middle, and they're joining in with Cunha. So it'll be interesting to see how Martinelli and Vinicius use that space towards the left-hand side. Will Martinelli end up out there? Will Vinicius end up inside? I'm really fascinated to see how that works.
Well, there is a huge number of photographers down at pitch side ready to capture the Brazilian players in particular, it would seem, as well as Carlo Ancelotti, who is dressed in his usual three-piece suit. The pennants are being exchanged on the halfway line. Let's remind you of the two teams. Alisson in goal for Brazil, Danilo, Marquinhos, Gabriel and Douglas Santos, Guimarães and Casemiro, Ryan, Martinelli and Vinicius Jr. behind Cunha up front. And for Norway, Nyland in goal, Ryerson does play at fullback, Ayer, Heggen and Muller-Wolfer, Ødegaard, Berger and Berg, Sorloth and Nusa, either side of the irresistible, irrepressible Erling Haaland up front. Both teams go into a huddle ahead of kick-off here. There are pockets of red around the 3 tiers of the stadium, but this mostly feels like a home game for Brazil. And this may well be their home from home, because of course the final is to be hosted here in what they're calling the New Jersey Stadium. Well, 28 years on from their last meeting at a World Cup, Brazil and Norway are reunited again. And in World Cup times, Norway have arguably never had it so good than that victory in Marseille. But times have changed, and if history repeats itself today, Erling Haaland and co might start dreaming of World Cup glory. Norway from right to left get us off and underway. Mexico against England live in the Azteca to come. And this is part 1 of the blockbuster double bill live on Talk Sport. Brazil playing from left to right, and Brazil get a goal kick in the game's embryonic stages. Alisson, the goalkeeper, all in purple with the long dark hair, away to the left-hand side, will take it. So much made, Mark McGee, of the clash between Gabriel and Haaland that no doubt will take place today. There's no love lost between those two, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Now, what is interesting, they've set up in like a box, with Vinicius and right out in the touchline. It's, I'm stretching it. They obviously want to get the width into the game. I want to see how that works.
hammered downfield by Alisson. Rayan of Bournemouth took up the most central position, but the clearance is overhit and all the way through to the Norway goalkeeper Ørjan Nyland, the former Aston Villa, Norwich, Bournemouth and Reading goalkeeper, and he will collect all in dark green away to the right hand side. He'll volley the ball upfield as well, out towards the right, and the burly Alexander Sørloth, who's nudged the ball straight out of play. It's a throw to Brazil on the far side. Douglas Santos takes it all the way back to Gabriel of Arsenal. And now Alisson again on the edge of his own penalty area. The stadium is packed to capacity. A crowd of around 80,000 expected again here today. Given away by Brazil. And then Danilo has to stick out a leg to poke it out of play. Norway throw in the left wing position. David Müller-Wölfe will take it as the sun threatens to peek through the clouds here in New York, New Jersey. Just gets a little brighter out on the field. Martin Ødegaard gets an early touch. The Norway captain wearing number 10 on the back of his red shirt. Out to Julian Ryerson, who is at least fit to start the game, having gone through that pre-match fitness test in the warm-up. It is Brazil 0, Norway 0. We've had 2 minutes. And you're listening to Talk Sport on a massive night of football. Remember, 1 a.m. for Mexico against England at the Azteca. We've got our team there ready to go, including England legend Stuart Pearce on commentary. All of the reaction, you can have your say on 03717 223344 after the game, and keep it Talk Sport all through the night until Talk Sport breakfast from 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Here come Norway. Martin Ødegaard through to Sørloth. He took it very well. Lays it square. Must be Berg. It
offside.
is.
Offside.
The flag is up. Tucked away brilliantly by Patrick Berg, but it looks as though the goal is going to be ruled out.
Yeah, it was offside. On the far side there, probably we'll see it, but I think probably Nusa was just ahead of it.
Well, they are celebrating. It's very tight. Sørloth, was he being played on by the fullback Danilo? Berg tucked it away beautifully, but it has been ruled out, and it is a Brazil free kick, and it is still 0-0. That is a massive warning nonetheless for Ancelotti's side, and the tears of jubilation in the Norway section have turned to those of desolation. They thought they were in front inside 3.5 minutes, but it stays 0-0.
We have such a good view of it from here, you know, and it wasn't really close in the end. It was probably a yard, Sørloth, but you know, what a finish, and yes, an absolute warning to them of what Norway are capable of.
Patrick Berg thought he'd scored his first international goal, but has to check himself and go again. Norway, a very good footballing side and in terrific form coming into this game as they look to reach the quarter-finals of a World Cup for the very first time against the team who have won it 5 times. Brazil. Out on the right with the dyed blonde hair is Ryerson, full-back position, tucks it into the path of Christopher Ayer, and now here is the former West Brom man Hegem, left-sided centre-half. David Müller-Wölfe of Wolves, all the way back to Nyland, the goalkeeper. Well, it's a very bright start for Norway, nonetheless, and the finish from Berg was enough to take your breath away, but it was ruled out. Sørloth bursting down the right again, taking on the fullback Douglas Santos. He's certainly got the physical advantage over the much more diminutive Brazilian player. Now Ødegaard, tearing infield as he loves to do. Familiar shape to his body positioning, Martin Ødegaard. Elbows jutting out, all left foot. Looser back to Ødegaard again. Ødegaard, the number 10, lays it square. Berger out to the right-hand side. Ryerson looks for the run down the far side of the field of Sørloth once more, and Sørloth wins Norway a corner on the far side as we look at it. No question that Norway have begun the game better, Mark McGee.
Yeah, I'm looking across at the clock. It's 5 minutes gone, and I would argue probably that Martin Ødegaard has had more touches in this first 5 minutes than probably any other player in any other game in this World Cup. He's been back there getting it, playing, switching play, turning, going out, going the other side. He's been absolutely brilliant in these first 5 minutes and has set the tone for Norway.
Essential to Arsenal's first league title victory in over 2 decades. Ødegaard's corner, left-footed and in-swinging. He'll take 2. The referee spotted something that he didn't like inside the penalty area, and Norway will go again. The referee today is Ismail Elfath of the United States. He's having a quick word with Rayan of Bournemouth, who appears to have the task of marking Erling Haaland. Haaland, Norway's all-time leading World Cup goal scorer. 5 coming into today. Corner again for Norway. Take 2 for Ødegaard, hoisted in left-footed. Alisson doesn't get there, trying to come through a crowd. It bounced off Marquinhos, thundered up into the air by Casemiro, not very far. Headed on by Nusa for Norway. Brazil look to break with Martinelli scampering up to the halfway line. He finds Vinicius Jr. He looks to shuffle into the halfway line area, but he's blocked off in the middle of midfield. And Norway have got it back again. Brazil 0, Norway 0 on this vast expanse of a surface. We're looking from high up in the main stand. Out on the right-hand side again is Ryerson. Little 1-2 with Ødegaard, and Norway are controlling this game.
Again, Martin Ødegaard at the heart of it, but you watch Haaland, and he's just prowling there up front, waiting for the moment, waiting where they can get the ball to him. Nusa, always looking dangerous.
Nusa, quick-footed, looks for Berger, tall and strong in the middle of midfield. Header on by Rayan for Brazil. Heggen gets across in front of Vinicius Jr. to send it back to goalkeeper Neelan. Not quite clear exactly yet how Brazil are shaping up in terms of setup. It seems quite a fluid setup in these early stages. They do have 4 forwards on the pitch, Mark.
Yeah, well, Martinelli and Vinicius are swapping over. He's ending up there for a while there. Vinicius Jr. was up the middle, so they are swapping over, and that will eventually give Norway a bit of a problem, particularly once there's a territorial advantage. Once Brazil get up the park, then they start to benefit from that. But Vinicius Jr. is now in the wide area.
Brazil have the ball. Casemiro sitting in front of the central defensive 2, middle of the Norway half. It's tucked out wide to Rayan on this near side. Rayan looks for the underlapping run. Bruno Guimaraes cutting it back. Martinelli tried to dink it into the penalty area. Hit Berger. Now it's come back out to the near side again. Guimaraes, the number 8. Norway with everybody in red, back behind the ball, and Guimaraes with a crossfield pass, slightly skewed, almost missed hit. And Vinicius Jr.'s got it ahead of Ryerson. Couple of step overs, gets the dead ball line, but has dragged the ball out of play. Electric feet in the first instance, but he couldn't quite keep control of it. Goal kick to Norway, 0-0 the score.
The expectations that we are projecting onto him every time he gets the ball, you're just waiting to see what he's going to do next. Now, he did take the ball over the line, but his little change of pace there to get to the byline is electrifying, and you can see the danger to Norway that possesses, sort of thing.
Another man up there in the race for the Golden Boot, Vinny Jr., 4 in 4 at this World Cup. And they're trying to set him away down the inside left. Ayer with a towering header, backpedaling the giant Christopher Ayer to nudge the ball away. 6'6", and he needed to really strain every sinew there to make the header midway inside his own half. Berger in the centre circle, and suddenly Brazil sit with a flat 4 at the back, 4 in midfield, and 2 ahead of them in the bright canary yellow shirts. And now the noise of the Seleção crowd as they try to get behind their team. They were waving their flags before the game, seen plenty in New York, and last night wandering around Manhattan. Not as many Norway fans here today, but when they get that Viking row going, it is something special. And now Rayan skips away from Ødegaard. He's gone down, he's hurt, and Brazil are on the attack. It could get worse here for Norway. Martinelli square. Oh, launching in with Zaire on Cunha. That is a massive decision from the referee, and he's elected not to give a penalty kick. It looked from our position like it was a clear foul. Cunha is raging, and Marquinhos wants an explanation.
Joe, if it's not a penalty kick, you should boot Cunha.
That is a penalty, surely, Mark.
It's got penalty written all over it, but as I say, if we're being fooled in a way that the referee hasn't, then he's just swept the legs away from him. Surely they'll have a look at that. That for me has got penalty all over it.
VAR checking right now. I can't believe the referee hasn't given that on the field. It was a clear swipe of the legs. Ayer was far too late. He looks very sheepish here, Christopher Ayer. hands on his hips. He lunged at Cunha, didn't get anywhere near the ball. Ancelotti's having a word with the fourth official down on the near side touchline in front of the Brazil dugout. But surely the referee is going to be sent to the monitor. The VAR check continues, Mark McGee.
Well, I think it's a ridiculous challenge. You know, he's got to do better than that, because, you know, Norway have made a brilliant start, and he's undermined all of that by giving what I think, you know, is a shocking tackle, which for me is penalty kick all over it.
They're dancing in the stands to the left of the commentary position, the Brazil supporters, because he's come across to the near side to check his pitch side monitor. Again, how Ismail Elfat didn't get that in the first instance, I don't know. We could see it clearly from up here. A swipe of the right leg from Maya, and he cleanly takes out Cunha.
And we thought that from up here. Sometimes I think the referees protect themselves a little bit, because they know they have the fallback on VAR.
After review, attacking defender number 3 committed tripping foul. Final decision.
Well, the right outcome is reached, and Brazil will have a penalty kick and a chance to take an early lead. Consultation with the pitch side monitor, and the only question now is who will take it.
Surely the Golden Boot contender will take it, but back to the actual challenge. It was a shocking challenge, it really was. And, you know, after his team have made such a brilliant start, to undermine it by, you know, a clumsy, rash, naive challenge inside his box.
Well, 14 penalties have been taken at this World Cup in regulation play. 11 of them have been scored. Vinicius Junior, Martinelli and Guimarães in conversation inside the penalty area. It is going to be left to the number 7, it would seem. In fact, he's given the ball to the Newcastle man, Bruno Guimarães, with the chance to give Brazil the lead. Great striker of the ball, places it down on the spot up against the somewhat journeyman goalkeeper Orjan Nyland, who has recently been playing for Sevilla. Bouncing up and down on his line. A penalty for Brazil. 13 minutes into the game, live on Talk Sport. Hands on hips here, Guimarães. Big deep breath. Here he goes, stuttered run up, right footed, saved! Turned away to his left hand side. What a save by Nyland, but what a poor penalty from Guimarães, and the curse of the stuttered run-up strikes again.
The curse of the stuttered run-up, you're absolutely right, Joe. Ridiculous, you know, for a player of that ability and that level to take it like that. But I have to say, looking at the goalkeeper standing in his goal, he looked big. He seemed to be covering a lot of the goal, and you did think that it was going to intimidate him a little bit. He was impressive standing in the line. He looked as if he was filling the goal.
He is a giant goalkeeper, 6'4", and Nyland just read the penalty kick. Guimarães wanted him to move. Nyland said no, makes a diving save, and it's still 0-0 here in New York, New Jersey on Talk Sport. What drama. Long goes Nyland down the other end towards Haaland. Header away by the retreating Gabriel. Forward by Ødegaard onto the chest of Nusa, right at the top of his chest. It nearly hit him in the face as Brazil scooped the ball away. And on the balance of play, you'd probably say that it would have been against the run of play had Brazil taken the lead. Really their first chance of the game. It's a pretty poor penalty. It's close enough to the goalkeeper that he can make the save, but nonetheless a great moment for Nyland.
It was a brilliant save, but he did make himself look really, really big, and I think he did intimidate him. But, you know, a player at that level has got to do better than that. You know, I can't believe he's missed a penalty in a World Cup game like this. You don't miss penalties at this level.
Never scored a penalty for Brazil, Bruno Guimarães, and that run continues. Vinicius Junior is fouled by Ryerson midway inside Brazil territory. Boos and whistles, and now rather flat around the stadium here, which is so packed with Brazil supporters everywhere you look, save for the noise of the Norway support. Rayan darting infield away from Muller-Wolfer, racing into the penalty area. Rayan skews his shot wide under pressure from the retreating Nusa.
Rayan's been impressive, you know, in the Scotland game and other games we've seen him. I've liked him. He's very, very positive. He's always on his front foot. He wants to get at the opponent, the defender. Immediately he gets the ball, and that was a brilliant switch of play out to him there.
Well, it is 4:15 here local time. I wonder whether you might just be waking up, having had a nap across the course of the evening ahead of the England game later. 1 a.m. for Mexico against England, live from the Azteca on Talk Sport, and we understand that Jarell Quansah will start for England tonight. A lot of talk about the full-back position, some talk of a switch to a back three. Talk Sport understands that Quansah starts, and no doubt full team news to come as and when we get it on Talk Sport. But it'll be a game of monumental proportions, that, for England in Mexico City in the round of 16. And of course the winners of that game will play the winners of this tie in the quarterfinals of the World Cup in Miami. And of course you'll hear it here on Talk Sport. Nusa with the dyed blonde hair and the bright yellow boots, a couple of step overs against Rayan, and then he shimmies infield, does Nusa, picks out Sander Berge, who rolls it wide to Ryerson. Both Sorloth and Haaland in the middle. That is quite an aerial threat for Brazil to have to deal with. Norway slow the game down. Ødegaard forward of the lip of the centre circle. Now he suddenly accelerates, and he nudges the ball square, almost got it caught underneath his feet there. Ødegaard, he's giving it away. 3-on-3 in the counter. Martinelli down the middle. To the left is Vinicius Junior. Played slightly further too wide than he wanted. Vinicius Junior crosses just over the head of Martinelli. What a ball in with the outside of his foot. And he helped Martinelli nearly make up there for a slightly disappointing pass in the build-up.
But, you know, Norway get caught in the ball and end up in a 3v3. They have to be careful. Another warning for them.
Sorloth at the other end, beaten to it by Douglas Santos, and the left fullback suddenly races towards the halfway line, realises that he's got very few options. Cunha checks back to the feet of Bruno Guimaraes, who has missed that penalty kick. At the big moment in the game so far, nearly 20 minutes gone, and it remains goalless between Brazil and Norway. Douglas Santos again looking for Casemiro, and on the halfway line is PSG's Marquinhos, a Champions League winner in each of the last two seasons. Rayan back into the path of Danilo, the former Manchester City fullback, and now Casemiro to Martinelli square, 25 yards out. Douglas Santos, early slide rule pass towards Cunha, too much weight on it, defender came across and is gathered by the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Cunha's appealing to his teammate, no, play it to my feet. You know, apart from anything else, it makes it more difficult for the Norway defender because he can't challenge them. You know, but the Norway defender gets across, uses his body well, and you know, and sees him out. And Cunha's a little bit frustrated, I think.
A little chip upfield by David Müller-Wölfe of Norway to find Nusa, who scored just an outstanding goal in that victory in the round of 32 against the Ivory Coast in Dallas. It was another sparkling attacking performance from Norway, and of course Haaland there to win the game for them late on. Brazil needed an even later goal to edge past Japan, and they've not exactly won plaudits, Carlo Ancelotti's team, for their style of play at this tournament so far.
Joe, there were people sitting, you know, counting it and talking about, commenting on how many touches Haaland has had, and I don't know if he's had one yet, but it's important that we realise that doesn't matter. The important thing is that when the right ball comes in, he gets the last touch in any move. So, you know, he's prowling, he's putting himself in position, he's waiting, he's patient, he's not running all over the place expending energy. He's waiting for the moment when it comes alive for him, and then he's got the energy to convert.
60 goals in 53 Norway games for Erling Haaland, and he's scored in each of his last 13 Norway appearances coming into today. 25 goals in those 13 games. Forward by Nyland, high raking ball out to the far side, the right, well controlled by Alexander Sorloth, who of course never convinced in the Premier League at Crystal Palace, but that was some time ago, and he is one of Europe's foremost strikers at this point in his career. Ryerson away on the right-hand side, infield to Ødegaard. Ødegaard back to Ryerson. 10 yards into Brazil territory now. Berger of Fulham. Midfield metronome. Berger lays it square. Ødegaard takes the possession, the captain. Ødegaard shuffles forward, then rolls it wide out to the right-hand side. 0-0. Brazil against Norway in the round of 16. Ødegaard out to the right. Ryerson is there again. Fended off by Douglas Santos. A little pass to the feet of Berger, who gets it back in a tight area. Berger now to Ryerson again. Ryerson all the way back to Heggen in the centre circle. Mark McGee's just been handed a bottle of water. Now, Mark, keep that away from your notebook, all right?
Well, in fairness, it wasn't me that spilled them over him this time. It was me yesterday. It was the young man that was helping us with the monitors that spilled it. But luckily, there was no short-circuiting or any electrocutions, just a few soggy pages.
We're okay up here, and no rain at the moment in New York, New Jersey, at this open-air stadium which will host the final. Berger midway inside Norway territory, and Ryerson out in the full-back position. If there are any weather updates to bring you ahead of Mexico against England at 1 a.m, we will let you know. You can have your say tonight after that game on 03717 22 3344. You get all the England post-match reaction and much more on TalkSport Breakfast from 6 a.m. Jeff Stenning and Gabby Agbonlahor with you. Free kick to Norway. Down goes Muller-Wolfer. Fouled by Rea. Not a great deal of contact between the two, but enough that it was a free kick. And we're nearly halfway through the first half. That's really raced by, Mark McGee.
Yeah, well, the free kick now, and I've seen Erling Haaland, instructing his own centre-half to come up, get her up. He's encouraging the bigger ones, the taller ones, to make this a set play that, they might score from. Didn't want them to take it short, didn't want them to take it quickly. He wants it in the box.
Well, Haaland is there, a giant front man. Berger in close quarters as well. They've got Heggen forward, they've got Ajer forward. A lot of height for Martin Ødegaard to aim at potentially. He's gone square with the free kick. Gets it back from Berg. Ødegaard still in the wing position, picks out Nusa. Everybody stayed forward in red for Norway. Nusa with the really quick feet. It's a brilliant run. He's passed 3 in yellow, lays it square. Ryerson turning away from Martinelli, rolling it back out wide. Here is Berg again. Norway looking for the opening goal of the game, but it's given away by Nusa. That could be costly. 2 against 2. Cunha running at the defender. Vinicius Junior to his left. Cunha powers through the middle, and he goes down under the challenge. Goalkeeper gathers. That looked much less like a penalty, and indeed it was David Muller-Wolfer who came across and made a firm but fair challenge.
He did. He ran him down, really, and both of them, in their effort to try and get ahead of the other, both end up going in their face. There was nothing in it. It was just a good bit of defending, a strong and determined bit of defending when you thought maybe he'd lose out the race, but he did. He stayed with them.
Not the first time that has happened in the game, Mark McGee, where Brazil have had a real run at Norway on the counter-attack. Yeah,
I think it's minimum of 3 times when it's they've either been outnumbered or certainly equinumbered. They've been 3v3, they've 4v4, and that's a little bit dangerous if they keep doing that eventually, one of them will find that slide rule pass, one of them will find a really good pass to one of these players that can punish them. They've not quite managed that yet, Brazil.
Over the halfway line, the ball from Ajer, out to the right, angled ball to Ryerson, back into the midfield, and Ødegaard now. Berg with his back to goal, and Ødegaard again turns in field. 1 or 2 whistles from the Brazil supporters with Norway in possession here. Carried over the halfway line by Heggen. Out to the left-hand side. Nusa. Back to Heggen again. It's certainly Norway who are having the dominant moments in terms of possession of the ball. Over 60% possession for Norway in the game so far. The big highlight, if you like, or low light from a Brazil perspective, the missed Bruno Guimaraes penalty given after a VAR review. Neeland all alone on the edge of his box. The goalkeeper smashes the ball out to the right-hand side, takes one bounce, ricochets off the shins of Sorloth, and Erling Haaland, not happy, throws his arms up into the air in frustration.
Yeah, because what happened was the central players get dragged out a little bit wider, and Haaland found himself 1v1 and was asking the goalkeeper to hit him. He fancies, maybe a bit of a look, they're saying it again now, he's reminding them again, hit me, I can take him on, I can win the header, I can still get on the end of my own touch, and I might get a 1v1. So, you know, when they can drag the defenders apart and leave them 1v1, they do have an option to hit them.
Danilo's wide ball out to the near side, and Rayan, little 1-2 with Bruno Guimaraes. He's a little lucky there, Bruno Guimaraes, that he got the ball back, because it was a really pull back towards Rayan, but then it's won back by Nusa for Norway in their left back position, scooped away by Heggen, and we've reached the end of the first quarter of the game, and we now have the hydration break. 25 minutes in, Brazil 0, Norway 0. Bruno Guimaraes has missed a penalty, and Erling Haaland, Mark McGee, has had the grand total of 5 touches in the game so far.
Yeah, well, it might be the end of the game, he'll only have had 7, but he probably will have scored 2 goals. But, you know, there is an option for the goalkeeper, and I think Haaland will be telling them that now, you know, that he's got to look for that one, because, you know, Nusa and Zorlov are dragging the defenders wide. You know, the fullbacks, Ryerson and Müller-Wolf, are dragging the midfield players wide. And it's opening up a big channel into Haaland, which the goalkeeper has an option to hit. And then when he does, you would fancy Haaland at least once or twice to get the better of the centre half.
The other thing that you notice, Mark, is that this is not a very Brazil way of playing. It's not really a very Carlo Ancelotti way of playing either.
No, it's not for the purest Brazil fan, but it's effective and it's still dangerous. You know, they've created opportunities, they've won a penalty obviously, but they've still got forward often enough that they might have scored a goal. So they're not, in a sense, playing in a way that doesn't still make them an attacking force. They've had several, we said it, 3 or 4 on 3v3, 4v4, where Norway are scrambling a little bit, and we know how good Brazil are, and one of these times, one of these ones running through, whether it's Cunha or whether it's Vinicius, will make that little pass into Martinelli or vice versa. They'll get in and they will score, you know, so Norway have to be really, really careful.
Well, they're spraying the pitch here during the hydration break, and they're doing the Macarena in the stands. The Brazil supporters are certainly loving that here in New York, New Jersey, on a very overcast day here. Some looming clouds overhead. Haaland's total touches for the tournament so far, by the way, has 74. He's managed 5 goals across the course of this World Cup up to this point.
No, what does that make that? About 8% of the touches he has result in a goal.
Not bad.
It's not bad at all, is it? You know, so if he does that tonight, then you know, he'll have a goal in there somewhere. But you know what they've not been able to do yet is what I said, is that get wide and get crosses for him. So far he doesn't cut a frustrated figure, because he knows that's what he does. He knows he doesn't get a lot of touches, but I think there's still been 1 or 2 opportunities to get the ball in him. And I mean, I seen him, you know, motioning, you know, to get it into his feet once or twice when they were running out of options to go wide or they were blocked off. And he wants that now and again, that they just put a fast ball into his feet. He can turn them, he can get down the side. He wants to be a threat, and he can't be a threat unless they think about getting the ball into him.
Well, the spotlight's on Bruno Guimaraes so far, and certainly on Brazil, who are looking to end a 24-year drought, which by their standards in this competition is a long one. Brazil 0, Norway 0. We're half an hour into the game. The hydration break is over and the game is back underway. Casemiro collecting the ball for Brazil, 10 yards shy of the halfway line, and now here is Gabriel. A square pass to Marquinhos with the curly hair. He'll cross over halfway at really one-footed sort of pace. Casemiro forward of the centre circle, big diagonal ball sweeping out to the right-hand side, taken down by Rayan. He will roll it back to Danilo. Danilo clips in the cross, it's very deep, takes 1 bounce. Vinicius Junior keeps it in down by the corner flag, and he twists and turns and pops a lovely ball forward here to Martinelli across goal, and the keeper makes a save. He'll bounce down to Rayan. Danilo misses his shot, almost missed his kick entirely, ended up skewing towards the edge of the penalty area there from Danilo, and then down goes Nusa, and the free kick is given to Norway. Well, Ørjan Nyland is so far the Norway hero in goal.
I thought it was going to be an own goal. You know, Martinelli's burst of speed there along with the touchline and the ball across, I thought was going to result in one of the Norway players putting it into the back of his own net.
It's interesting, there was a little bit of debate in Brazilian media coming into this tournament about Martinelli's inclusion, but he's certainly proven his worth in European competition for Arsenal in particular last season, and showed what he can do for his country with the winner off the bench against Japan. Tangle between Haaland and Gabriel. Out comes Alisson, who manages to clear the ball away, right-footed, though he slipped at the point of making contact. Haaland very nearly bullied Gabriel out of the way there.
Exactly the ball we were talking about, exactly the ball that Haaland had been telling his goalkeeper to play. Just get it up to him and let him get in that fight with Gabriel, and he won that one and almost got in. I think that is happening. When Casemiro got on the ball that little bit deeper there, Martinelli's pushed on, and there are four of them up front, and there are the two wing backs, but there's nobody in the centre of the park. That's where they're missing Paquetá. You know, he's in there, he would receive that, and he'd be getting that going from there, and a little bit the way Odegaard is doing for Norway, and Brazil are missing that at the moment.
Rayan with the ball with the outside of his foot, given straight to Odegaard. Some of the Brazilian radio commentators in front of us throw up their arms in frustration at that poor pass as Norway coming forward on the attack. Odegaard is midway inside Brazilian territory. 0-0. Odegaard with the ball out to the right-hand side, and Sorloth again. Sorloth almost miscontrolled that, but such is his physical strength, he managed to hold off Douglas Santos anyway. Tucked wide by Berger to Nusa. He'll run at the fullback, couple of step overs. Nusa blocked off by Bruno Guimaraes. Well one back in the middle of midfield. Here come Brazil on the counter-attack. Played forward by Casemiro. Vinicius Junior tucks it wide into the path of Danilo. Nobody really forward enough in bright yellow, but Vinicius Junior will have a run. He nutmegs Hegem, but he's nudged the ball way too far ahead of himself, and it's gone out of play. Some ironic cheers for the Norway fans. It's a goal kick, and it is still 0-0.
The change of pace, you know, when they decide to go at it, when they decide to play those little 1-2s, and they somehow manage to retain possession under that sort of intense pressure from the Norwegian defenders, but they still get it back to their teammate, and they still get at them. You know, again, brilliant bit of skill, but he just overhit it there.
And that's the voice of former Scotland assistant manager Mark McGee, as Neelan smashes the ball downfield again, takes one bounce, out comes Alisson. Sweeper goalkeeper, and he'll clear upfield, and it's headed away by Ayer over the top of Cunha. The ball retrieved in the centre of the field this time by Martinelli, who's very eager to get involved. Martinelli making a World Cup start for the first time in 2026. Casemiro in the centre circle, little chip out towards the left, and it's Douglas Santos having to really leap high to even keep the ball in play. Overhit by Casemiro. Sorloth to Haaland. Haaland on the halfway line, trying to burst through beyond Marquinhos and Casemiro. Sorloth has then played it straight to the feet of Danilo, and it's one back by Brazil. Very transitional game at the moment. Cunha out to the left. Vinicius Junior takes it in his stride and races in field. Bruno Guimaraes, head to the D, out wide to the right. Rayan is onto it. Reverse ball. Vinicius Junior's shot is blocked, and then Muller-Wolfer makes a good second tackle and is able to clear the ball upfield. Brazil win it back again in the bright yellow, playing from left to right in the first half. We're live inside the stadium in New York, New Jersey. Played back by Rayan. Into the path of Danilo with the white boots on. Rayan's little touch. Bruno Guimaraes tried to whip it across goal. In the way was Patrick Berg, and Norway having to defend stoutly here for the moment. Given away by Danilo though. Sorloth can lead a counter-attack. Neither side quite clicking in the final third. Not yet. Odegaard infield from the right-hand side. He's got options square. One of them is Nusa. Nusa takes it down. Wriggling feet. Playing it back towards Martin Odegaard. Odegaard with his back to goal. Couldn't get the shot away. Still alive here for Norway. Odegaard turns and hits it into the side netting. Nearly caught Addison out there.
I thought when Nusa came inside, there was an opportunity for him to shoot. I don't know why he didn't take it with his right foot, because he can score. But again, you know, great play from Norway, attacking, you know, quick attacking, and Sorloth, you know, did a little bit better there, because the last time they had that position, Sorloth tried to come back inside, lost possession, and suddenly Brazil were at them. But that time they managed to keep the move going and ended up in a shot.
Not far away from the Norway captain, who's Goal tally has declined over recent seasons for Arsenal, but of course, as we saw in that game, you might remember against West Ham, when he set up the winner for Leandro Trossard, still very influential. And one back by Norway, Nusa, midway inside the Brazil half. Saw a lot of walking pace back to Ryerson. 10 minutes of the first half to go. cagey at the moment. Brazil 0, Norway 0. Ødegaard to the right-hand side. Mexico against England to come once we're done here. Sorloth rolls the ball along the right-hand touchline. Far side of the field, Ryerson gathers it up and pops it back to the halfway line where Heggen can help begin another Norway attack. Heggen with his socks rolled halfway down his shins. A little square pass to Berg. Further wide left is Müller-Wölfe. Quickly on to Nusa. Nusa taking on Danilo. Nusa with a great cross. Haaland with an effort. Tried to chip the ball deftly over Alisson, but he never really got behind it, and it's gathered by Alisson.
A brilliant bit of play by Nusa, but also a great run by Haaland. And what a clever attempt. You know, he just tries to kind of roll it over his foot. Absolutely brilliant. He just doesn't quite get enough on it, but you know, what a great idea.
You could see what he was intending to do. It would have been an outrageous finish had he managed to lob Alisson on the volley from there. And Brazil have got the ball back, though they've largely looked threatening on the transition, Brazil, rather than after long spells of possession. Martinelli's ball up the middle, headed away by Müller-Wölfe, and then Berger was caught. I don't think the referee was looking. Eventually he does give Norway a free kick.
I'm not sure the referee knew what he was seeing there, but I think from the other players and everyone's reaction, I think he realised there was a free kick. You know, Norway have been impressive. You know, when Ødegaard dictates it, there's a lot of movement around them, there's a lot of movement ahead of them. The three midfield players are making themselves, they're getting depth, you know, they're getting in between Brazil's line. It's really impressive that and then of course you've got Haaland stalking up there, waiting for his moment, as he had a second ago and nearly had an absolutely outstanding finish.
Those are the thoughts of Mark McGee. Much more to come from Mark as Sorloth darts down the right hand side for Norway, and the cross comes off the back of Douglas Santos. The loose ball is retrieved by Ryerson, and Norway is still in possession. Ryerson, though, is running away from goal all the time. They go back to Ayer on the halfway line, or just inside Brazil territory. Ayer with a good way to pass into the feet of Ødegaard, looking to break between the lines. Brazil with plenty in yellow behind the ball. In fact, everybody bar Vinicius Jr. 39th minute, 0-0 it remains. Nusa, little shimmying run in field, but he forgot to take the ball with him. Headed down by Rayan and away by Marquinhos. A little lob by Danilo, who then collects the ball in his chest and feeds Bruno Guimaraes out on the near side right in front of Ancelotti. Back in field it goes to Casemiro, and now here comes Gabriel, able to bring the ball out of defence. We've not seen a great deal of Haaland versus Gabriel so far. That one long ball and the tussle that followed aside. 0-0, Rayan away on the right, taking on Müller-Wölfe. Rayan has got Danilo in support on the overlap. Back it goes to Guimaraes, the man who has missed the penalty kick. Here on the near side of the field is Rayan again. No great pace to this Brazil attack. Casemiro with a long-range shot, hopeful rather than an expectation. It was blocked by Heggen. Just ambled forward there, Casemiro, as though Brazil didn't really know what to do in possession in the final third when faced up by the Norway back line man.
Yeah, it was like no other option to have a shot when probably the shot wasn't on. Going back to Norway and their attacking, Sorloth to me is the only one that looks like when he gets in possession he's not really clear of what he can do, what he's looking to do.
Ødegaard risky, one back by Vinicius Jr. Here he is again, left-footed, and Neelan makes a good save at the near post. Ødegaard admits his mistake, raises his arms up in apology. Edge of the area was not the time to be trying a nifty little turn away, and Vinicius Jr. nearly punished it.
He just nicked it, didn't he? He was right onto him, and that's the speed over those even 2 or 3 yards. You know, when you make that little mistake, you show him the ball.
Corner's taken short. Vinicius Jr. again, left corner of the area, and he's nudged it square straight to Nusa. Nusa pokes it away. Nobody forward on the counter-attack for Norway at this moment. Douglas Santos will send it back to goalkeeper Alisson. 0-0 the score. I'll give you more detail on the England team news ahead of the Mexico game now, in fact. 1 a.m. kickoff live on TalkSport. We understand Jarell Quansah will make his second World Cup start. Thomas Tuchel's expected to bring in Bukayo Saka and Anthony Gordon, with Noni Madueke and Marcus Rashford dropping out. So Quansah will start, and we expect Saka and Gordon to replace Madueke and Rashford. Kickoff and full commentary live from the Azteca at 1 o'clock in the morning. I know you're going to stay up for it.
Well, of course we are. Just a rare event there a second or two ago when Vinicius miscontrolled the ball out for a throw, and I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, the first time he's done that in his career.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Long ball by Neelan, right down the middle. Haaland is chasing, and Marquinhos and Gabriel needed to deal with the threat there. Shoving the back of Gabriel from Haaland.
But you know, it demonstrates the authority that Haaland carries in this team. You know, he told the goalkeeper to play him long, and I think the last 3 times the goalkeeper's had at his feet, he's hit Haaland.
The aura that he carries, the weight of his presence on the field. Here goes Nusa through the middle, up to Haaland. Haaland on the edge of the D here, works it onto the left foot, out to Ødegaard. Ødegaard from the angle, charged down by Danilo. It's a Norway corner.
Just had to wait a little bit too long for Ødegaard to get there to be able to play him in, and when he played him in, he ended up too wide and the Brazil defence could get across. But you know, that ball into Haaland, and when it goes in, we're all here getting out of our seats a little bit because you expect that something can happen.
Forward come the Norway defenders. Ajer and Hegem are both there. So too Sander Berge. A lot to aim at in terms of height inside the penalty area. Haaland's gone to the back post. 43rd minute. Goalless. Corner from the near side. Delivered in by Berg. Really poor. Headed away by the first man. It'll bounce down to Nusa, who flicks it square. Ryerson heads the ball on, gets it back from Hegem, scoops the ball into the box, and that is catching practice for Alisson. I thought he was going to control it on his chest there for a moment. Now an update on the weather in Mexico City. Of course, this has a direct effect on England. Due to severe weather, the stadium has issued a shelter-in-place order. And more updates as new information becomes available. Cunha, edge of the D. Vinicius Jr. tries to wriggle away from 2 in red. He can't get beyond Ryerson. Ryerson nudges the ball forward. That's a good ball for Sorloth over the halfway line. Sorloth to take on Gabriel. Not exactly racing forward with great urgency. He's gone backwards to Ødegaard instead.
I don't think it has the pace to think that he can run away from there. I think the best he can do is keep possession.
Yeah, you're probably right. Certainly didn't seem to fancy himself in a one-on-one. TalkSport at the World Cup. Every game live with us, including the final, which will be here in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 5 miles to the west of Manhattan itself.
Fantastic stadium for a World Cup final, you know, huge crowd, great atmosphere created by the steep banks. It's worthy of a World Cup final, I feel.
Locals don't love it though, do they? We've spoken to 1 or 2 who are not best pleased.
I think the way it looks from the outside, it looks as if it's half finished in some ways, but I think once you're in here, it's impressive.
Here is Hegem, back to goalkeeper Neelan. Last 20 seconds of normal time remaining at the end of the first half. An eventful first half, but ultimately, thus far, no goals. Ørjan Nyland pumps the ball high down the middle. It's headed away by Douglas Santos ahead of Sorloth. The second ball won by Martinelli, who's been very diligent in his work off the ball so far, but Haaland is there to hold it up, feed it out to the right, Ødegaard. Good play by Haaland. Out on the right, Sorloth led with the edge of the penalty area. Back to Ryerson, and now Berge takes over. Berge wide left, angled ball into the path of Martin Ødegaard, who's crossed cannons off the shins of Martinelli, and out to play for a Norway throw.
Again,
6 added minutes.
You know, if you look down there, see Haaland again calling up his centre half.
What Erling says goes.
It certainly appears that way, and why not?
Stanisol back, and the head coach has admitted he does get special leeway at times, and you can understand that. Long throw headed away by Cunha, disappointing throw by Raasen. It's bounced back out to the fullback, who took it well on his right foot, tries across, deflects off Martinelli again. It's another Norway corner, 0-0.
Every corner so far, Haaland's taken up that position right at the back post, almost outside the 6-yard box at the back post, but he has made his way across and round. You know, you imagine the time they've spent working on these set plays, so they all know what's happening.
Well, we've had drama so far, a missed Brazil penalty, but of course a big drama in the game, very much still to come. First half stoppage time, 0-0. Delivered in by Odegaard, that's swirling left-footed, headed back across goal, picked up though by Martinelli, who will nudge it forward towards halfway. He can't find Vinicius Junior. David Muller-Wolfer there to sweep it up and knock it back to the goalkeeper.
I don't think the Martinelli in central has worked. I don't think he's given them enough. I don't think he gets on the ball enough, a la Odegaard or even the sort of midfield player that Paquetá. Sorry, I've lost his name.
Well, Paquetá is out injured, isn't he? And that's the player, you're right, that he's replacing.
Paquetá's the player that he's replacing, but he's not doing that job. As we said before, he runs in straight lines, he ends up in wide areas, and there's nobody then left in central area for Brazil to play through. They're missing that, I think, and it's helping Norway in their possession.
Well, we're nearly halfway through the 6 minutes added at the end of the first half. Julian Raasen rolling it all the way back to goalkeeper Nieland. Nieland drives it high through the overcast sky, and Haaland has shrugged aside Gabriel. Marquinhos gets back, picked up by Odegaard. Good save by Alisson, and he plunges on the loose ball as well. At the moment, Brazil cannot deal with the threat of Erling Haaland, and Odegaard maybe should have scored.
Well, what a fantastic save. You know, you're thinking it's counting, but you know, Haaland's part in this is just brute force. You know, he's inviting the goalie to hit him, and in the 1v1 he's giving them an almighty difficult time.
Pure power. Too much for Brazil to handle. Even both centre-halves were struggling there. Brazil have the ball. Danilo, midway inside opposition territory. Guimarães onto the right foot. Rolls it out left-hand side. Douglas Santos, 0-0. We're in the 4th minute of 6 added at the end of the first half. Guimarães has still got it. He's about 30 yards out, left of centre. Out wide to the near side, and Danilo, and now the loose ball taken up by Casemiro. Guimarães again, rolling it wide. Vinicius Junior takes on the fullback Raasen, trying to twist and turn beyond him, has to roll it back infield. Shot is on from range, takes a big deflection, bounces down to Danilo. Danilo right corner of the penalty area now. Little dink in by Casemiro, and only just over the head of the flailing Gabriel Martinelli.
Yeah, it was a delicious little ball just into that area, and he was on the move already. It was just a little bit too high. He couldn't quite get there. Odegaard's been brilliant in this half, he really has, and dictated everything that's been good for Norway. They want him to recover at half-time for sure, come back out, and eventually he's going to make one of those passes that will get Haaland in.
Mexico or England, remember, will play the winners of this tie in the quarter-final in Miami on the 11th of July. 0-0, minute and 20 seconds of first half added time to go as Odegaard makes another diligent interception. Odegaard on the halfway line to Berger just to the right of the centre circle, and he feeds Sorloth, who knocks it back into the path of Berger again. Sorloth seems much more effective when he's moving into a central position and joining Haaland in the attack.
Yeah, well, I think they would have expected maybe a few more crosses from this side, from Nusa, and the two of them could get
Early
in there.
ball towards Odegaard from Berger, and he's gone down in the area, but the challenge was certainly a fair one from Gabriel, and it bounced through to Addison anyway. Meanwhile, Martinelli is fouled and Brazil take a quick free kick. Last few seconds of the first half. Vinicius Junior fancies his chances against Dyer. Shimmies infield and then back out to the left-hand side. He's beyond Ryerson. He's beyond Dyer. Was he fouled by Dyer? No. Dyer thinks that he's dived, wagging his finger in the face of Vinicius Junior. Referee gives the goal kick.
Yeah, well, Vinicius Junior is not someone who goes down easily. He's not someone who tries to win it. Look, he's pulled his jersey a bit. No, he's not pulled his jersey enough for him to go down. But he's pulled his jersey, and and rightly, he has the right to go down, and the Norwegian defender is taking a risk doing that.
And that is half-time, and so goalless at the break in all 3 round of 16 matches so far. The big highlight for Norway, certainly the penalty save from goalkeeper Ørjan Nyland to deny Bruno Guimaraes, the first Brazil penalty player to miss a penalty at the World Cup since Zico against France in 1986. That is excluding penalty shootouts. That's the closest either team have come, though. Norway have certainly looked bright themselves on the attack towards the end of that first half. Martin Odegaard's shot, well saved by Addison. Nyland has made another good stop to deny Vinicius Junior. So plenty of action and entertainment here for the crowd in East Rutherford, but still no goals in the round of 16 as yet. Brazil 0, Norway 0.
Joe, thank you very much. Let's review then that first half with Mark McGeady, former Scotland assistant manager. And it's one of those games where when Joe just said the stat there about all 3 round of 16 games so far have been goalless at half-time, which would suggest, obviously, a cagey nature. This game hasn't been cagey, has it?
It's not, you're right. It's not been cagey. It's been sort of cut and thrust a little bit. I think that on a points decision, Norway just edge it, although, of course, Brazil have missed a penalty. I think for Norway, Nusa's been effective, but his final ball, he's not quite got the crosses in, he's not quite got there, which I think that they'd be hoping that Sorloth is there, because he can come in off that far side with Haaland and create an opportunity and a danger from the crosses from this side. So that's not quite got going yet for them, but generally Odegaard has been absolutely outstanding. He's been the player of the first half for me, getting it, making everything happen. Made a bad mistake down there that almost cost them, but apart from that, he's been outstanding. The Martinelli, Vinicius, Ryan, Cunha sort of quadrilateral there, it hasn't really worked. I'm not sure what on the Martinelli where he's playing, and we said it. Paqueta's missing from there, and it changes the whole sort of personality of that area where he gets on the ball and nurses it and takes it in and gives them time and plays people in. It's not like that. It's all in straight lines at the moment.
So how, for example, with what you're just saying there, how can Carlo Ancelotti change that?
Well, first of all, a straight change for me would be to put Martinelli out there and tell him just to stay out there, and bring Vinicius in here and let him play again alongside almost Cunha, or certainly in support of him, and get him in central positions and receive him, because he can receive it from anywhere. He can receive it in 360 degrees and he can come out any way he likes. Martinelli doesn't do that, so Vinicius Junior in there, receiving the ball, getting turned and playing Martinelli in, and playing Ryan in and playing Cunha in, and letting them drag them away for him, coming back to him where he can then go on and maybe beat someone and score a goal.
Let's reflect on what happened earlier on in the game. Obviously Norway thought they had taken the lead, but that goal that they thought they had scored was disallowed for offside in the build-up to it. And then 10 minutes or so later, Brazil were awarded a penalty that you called quite early on from high up here. Whether the referee was in the right position fully to see it maybe is why he didn't give it on the field, but certainly VAR got involved, asked him to go and look at the monitor, and then he decided that there was an obvious late attempt, shall we say, from Christopher Ayer to block Matheus Cunha. Missing the ball, he brings down the Brazilian, which led to the spot kick. There are, though, some that are suggesting, we haven't probably seen the replays, that Aya does get a little nick on the ball because the ball slightly changes its trajectory. That is not something we can debate about because we haven't seen it again ourselves, but I've just been seeing that as a discussion point. The biggest discussion point, though, of course, is that penalty that Bruno Guimaraes decides to take, and it's something we've seen plenty of times at this World Cup, whether it's in penalty shootouts or merely in a game. What is it with these stuttered run-ups that don't tend to work?
Well, I know you've been a real opponent and a critic of stuttered run-ups, and I think we all support you in that, you know, but I do know that it's one of your bugbearers, and I respect you for that, but it's horrible. I hate to see it. You know, I want them to be decisive. I want them to come up, and the very best, apart from absolute specialists, the very best of penalty kick takers hit the ball hard. You know, they did it wherever they hit it in the net, they hit it hard, and that's the way I like to see penalties being taken. So it was a shocking miss, because this game is looking totally different if Brazil are going in here at half-time 1-0 up.
But of course, with that stuttered run-up, what Guimaraes is hoping for is that Nyland makes the move first. But he doesn't. He just waits and bides his time to make the Brazilian man actually go first, and then becomes a relatively easy save.
Yeah, well, before Guimaraes took it, I'm looking down at the goalie on the line, and he looked big. You know, I used to have Shaka Hislop, you know, as my goalkeeper when he was at Reading, and Shaka used to stand the goal and you wonder where you could put it because you couldn't see any daylight, and it was like that there. I looked at him and I thought, oh, that's going to be difficult for Guimaraes, because the optic is that there's not really anywhere to put it, and I think that intimidated him a wee bit, and his stutter run up was giving him a lot of time to try and see what was going to happen, to see if the keeper was going to move. Exactly. But it didn't happen, and the keeper anticipated where it was going.
Well, it is goalless here, Mark McGee. Thank you very much. But it does feel as though this game is ready to move up a gear. You are listening to World Cup Game Day Live on TalkSport, brought to you by Burger King Burger Buddies. Total tournament satisfaction delivered by the experts. Order now on the BK app. So it is goalless, as I say, in New Jersey. And what's been a very entertaining game. We'll bring you second half commentary, of course, to come. But we'll also be taking you to Mexico City next for the latest team. And maybe, more importantly, weather news as well. That's next on TalkSport. So the odds have changed a little bit, obviously, since we've had that first half for Brazil to win the game. It's 20-21 on for them to do that. The draw is 15-8, and if you think Norway can win this game, you can get them at 4-1. Those were the halftime odds with Bet365. Bring you more offers than ever before this summer. 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
On the ball, on Talk Sport with Bet365. Get your money back in free bets if your bet builder doesn't come in on tonight's England game. Max free bet varies per customer. Bet restrictions and T's and C's apply. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
So following us here on Talk Sport, we'll begin build-up to Mexico against England in yet another round of 16 clash. Build-up will begin from 11, kick-off at 1 o'clock UK time. Question is whether or not the weather is going to affect this one. Let's take you to Mexico City at the Estadio Azteca, where Talk Sport's Adrian Durham awaits us. Adrian, how are you doing?
Well, I'm okay, but the weather isn't. It's absolutely hammering it down. We've had thunder and lightning close together for the last 10-15 minutes or so, and it doesn't show any sign of abating. The only positive is that this is coming way earlier than the Mexico Meteorological Centre had forecast, so hopefully it'll blow over earlier than they forecast as well, which means we might, outside chance, might get the game kicking off when it should.
Well, that's certainly good news to hear, and yes, we're hearing news about a shelter-in-place order taking place at the Mexico City Stadium as well, so fingers crossed it won't impact the game too much going forward. But in terms of what you're expecting from Mexico tonight, Adrian, it's not going to be an easy one, is it, for England?
No, it isn't. We are at altitude, and as you've been in this stadium, you know, in the stadium we are broadcasting from altitude on top of altitude, so it's just, as you know, a magnificent venue. But in terms of the game itself, I think England have got their work cut out. There's all sorts of rumours about the team news, and we'll confirm that as and when we can, but all sorts of horrible rumours about who's fit and who isn't, so hopefully it's not too bad. Declan Rice has been mentioned as not being fully fit. Could he possibly miss the game? For me, that will be a massive, massive blow for England, but nothing's been confirmed as yet, and when we know the teams, you'll get the teams. But it's a tough one for England. Player for player, they're better than Mexico. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's just whether they can put their A game together, England.
Just give us a sense, Adrian, I know you mentioned a little bit there about the altitude, and I know, of course, we were there, like you mentioned, and we're not playing at those levels. Obviously, what we do is very, very different. But how do you think has it affected you guys in any way?
Well, as you know, I am not entirely fully fit, but actually I've not been too bothered by it. You can feel it, you can sense it. I didn't have a great night's sleep, and when you're walking along, sometimes you're a bit breathless. But I think my problems are just being out of shape, really, rather than anything else. I can't believe that it's going to be a big problem for the players until about the last 15-20 minutes. That's when it could kick in, and so Tuchel will have to get his substitutions right.
Look, Adrian, I'll let you go because the teams are coming back out here in New York, New Jersey. Best of luck. Hope it all goes to plan. Great to have a quick chat with you then. And as Adrian said, he will, of course, round up all the rumours, all the speculation once we get the official team news. With Adrian Durham and the team, Jim Proudfoot, Stuart Pearce, Faye Carruthers, all involved in that way. Norway and Brazil then making their way out for this second half. And it looks as though there are some changes taking place for Norway as well. So what we'll do is, with everyone making their way out once more, well, let's just get confirmation from Joe Shannon, our match commentator, then on potential changes.
Well, a double change, it would seem, for Norway. Andreas Schjelderup was warming up, stripped and ready to go in the red shirt of Norway across the whole of half-time. And it looks as though he might be about to be joined on the field by Oscar Bob as well. So at least one, possibly two changes here for Norway. I think I counted 9 players came out of the tunnel for the second half, and it is going to be that double change. Sorloth is coming off, ineffective in the first half, and here comes the Fulham man Oscar Bob, and the other winger, Noosa, is replaced. So it's both wingers off, 2 replacements on.
OK, Joe, thank you very much for that. Interesting changes that Ståle Solbakken has made there.
Some way positive changes, though, because I think Solorov was on that far side, to come in with Haaland from crosses from the left-hand side which never arrived. And when he was in possession, he lost it a couple of times. He's not really going to change things. So, I think those are positive changes really that Norway have made.
Well, Mark McGee is alongside Joe Shannon.
And the second half begins with Brazil kicking us off from right to left. The yellow shirts, blue shorts and white socks, and Norway red shirts, white shorts and dark blue socks. It's a long ball thundered downfield by Alisson for Cunha to chase. Torbjorn Heggen shepherds the ball out of play under pressure from Cunha, used his strength to great effect, and it's a goal kick to Norway, who have made that double change. Bob and Schjelderup for Sorloth and Nusa. So they have Nyland, who saved a penalty in the first half, in goal. Ryerson, Ayer, Hegem and Muller-Wolfer at the back. Midfield three of Berg, Berger and Ødegaard. And Bob and Schjelderup now, two nippy, direct, quick wingers either side of Erling Haaland through the middle. For Brazil, Alisson in goal, no changes for them at the break. Danilo, Marquinhos, Gabriel and Douglas Santos, Casemiro and Guimarães, and Rayan out on the right-hand side. Cunha in the middle at the moment with Martinelli. Vinicius Junior wide left. Martinelli collects possession. An energetic performance from Martinelli, but he hasn't really been able to affect the game a great deal at the moment. Even Vinicius Junior has found chances relatively sparing. The big opportunity for Brazil was the Bruno Guimarães penalty saved by Nyland. Out on the left-hand side is Vinicius Junior again. Not quite as warm and muggy as it was a little earlier on. There's a wind sweeping through the commentary box at the moment as Brazil go forward on the attack. Rayan infield onto the left foot, and a cross-come shot that is diverted away on the volley, left-footed by Heggen. Out of play for a Brazil throw. It's 0-0, and here's Mark McGee.
Well, it was a sort of cross shot, always dangerous. You never quite know where it's going to end up. But, I think that Oscar Bob is going to drag the fullback out that little bit wider, because the fullback knows he's got to be a little bit closer to Oscar Bob, and the same on the other side with the fullback. And what that's done is that's opened up that middle for Haaland to get some of these balls that they would benefit from and that they nearly get in on down the middle. So it's simplified it for Haaland, but it's, opened up the space for Haaland.
Plenty of fans still retaking their seats early on in the second half here. Norway have got a free kick because of a handball in the wing position by Rayan. And Norway, a reminder, the only nation that Brazil have played but never beaten. Brazil against Norway, played 4, lost 2, drawn 2, including the 1998 World Cup. But a generation of Norway fans have waited for a fixture like this. Some of them have never seen a competitive game like this before. Norway have possession with Ayer, and Norway have dominated on the ball for most of the game so far. 60% nearly possession for Norway. Little bit brighter overhead at the moment as Ayer comes forward for Norway up to the halfway line, finds that his passage further forward is blocked by 2 yellow shirts, so picks out Ryerson instead. Ayer all the way back to Nyland. Remember, England against Mexico from the Azteca will be live with all the build-up and then commentary on Talk Sport once we're done here. 1 a.m. kick-off, we hope, weather permitting. Ryerson in the right-back position again for Norway, to Berger, the number 8, out to Ødegaard, right in front of Carlo Ancelotti. Ødegaard darts over the halfway line, plays the ball to the feet of Berg, the number 6, scampers beyond Casemiro, might open up for the shot, and it did, but he blazed it miles high over the bar, and it sails into the Norway section behind the goal, where it's actually been caught by a fan.
Yeah, we saw that at baseball the other day. We don't expect it here. But no, it was a terrible shot, but it opened up for him. He's entitled to shoot, but he's got to do a little bit better in the quality of the shot. It
is something like a Brazil home game here. They have packed out all 4 sides of the ground, though there's a relatively sizable Norwegian contingent who are making themselves heard behind the goal to the right-hand side. Pockets of red. Header on by Berg, good header. Well controlled by Schjelderup, who pops it back to Berger. Angled ball wide to Ødegaard. On the overlap is Ryerson. Ødegaard shaped to cut infield, goes back out wide instead. Very cagey feel to the game at the moment. 0-0. 5 minutes into the second half on Talk Sport. Bob with his first real involvement. Bright lime green boots on, little nudged pass by Odegaard. Comes off Casemiro. Those two are used to doing battle in the Premier League, though of course Casemiro no longer at Manchester United. It's a throw on the near side of the field for Norway again. Still waiting for the big chance for Haaland in the game. He's not really had one facing goal, as Ryerson wants a free kick in the wing position right in front of the assistant referee, who's got Norway fans directly behind him. Said that it wasn't a foul on Ryerson, no free kick.
No, I don't think it was. He blocked him off well enough, and Ryerson just tried to squeeze a decision out of the referee, but the linesman was right there and wasn't having it.
Ball is scooped high up into the sky by Gabriel. Still lots of clouds overhead. Header back by Haaland to the halfway line. Haaland leaping athletically there, and it's collected by Muller-Wolfer. Norway seem in control of the game for the most part, in possession. Again, Brazil happy to invite them on and then break on the counter. Angled ball to Ryerson on the near side, the right. Ryerson taking on Martinelli, gets it back from Bob. Bob again on the near side of the field, one of the smallest players on the pitch to one of the tallest, Berger. Bob wriggles away from one and then two, but it's cleared away by Douglas Santos. His control wasn't quite sharp enough in the wing position. Here is Guimaraes. He's going to have to go backwards here to Marquinhos. He's under a bit of pressure from Haaland. Shuffles it wide to the right back area, and Danilo. Heavy press by Norway here, deep inside Brazil territory. Danilo has to blaze the ball long up into the sky, over the head of Martinelli, where it's retrieved by Odegaard, and Norway have it back again.
Odegaard again there, anticipating the ball coming over his head, not sort of going and challenging for it. A little bit of patience, and he ends up in possession, his team going forward again. Really excellent play by him.
It would be an historic win for Norway if they were to get it 0-0. They have never reached the quarter-finals of a World Cup. The winner will play either Mexico or England. And as well as Mexico against England live, we hope at 1 a.m. on TalkSport. We'll also bring you Portugal against Spain, which could be a real cracker in the round of 16, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Odegaard with a square ball for Norway, who once again seeing a lot of the ball but not creating a great deal with it. Odegaard allowed to just drift over the halfway line. Square pass to Berger. Berger seemingly sitting deepest at the moment of the three Norway midfield players. Berger again, the number 8, to Odegaard, and a short pass square to Hegem over the halfway line. In the centre circle he goes, gets it back from Muller-Wolfer. No great threat to Brazil at the moment, Norway, despite all the possession that they're having, Mark McGee.
Yeah, they're enjoying, a bit of possession. It's all around the halfway line, but they're being patient.
But here comes Schjelderup. Out on the left on the overlap is Muller-Wolfer. Low ball in, really poor to the near post. Easily cleared away by Marquinhos. He probably had time to bring that under control, and now Hegem has steered the ball out of play. This game yet to really spring into life. We obviously had the missed penalty in the first half. We had a couple of chances at either end. Good saves by both goalkeepers, but you feel there's just a sparkle missing at the moment, maybe. 0-0.
Yeah, we see it, don't we? The game needs a goal.
Haaland trying to provide it, winning it back high up the field, nudges it wide left to the far side, darting into the edge of the penalty area with Schjelderup, but he runs into the wily Danilo, and now Martinelli carries the ball into the centre circle. This is TalkSport, 0-0. Nearly 10 minutes into the second half. Vinicius Junior out on the near side, the left, taking on Bob, getting beyond him, getting beyond Ryerson. Tight angle, dead ball line, pokes it across. Was there a double deflection there? He said corner, the referee, in the end. Norway feel there was a double deflection, one off Ayer and one off Vinny Junior, but I think corner is the decision.
The way he goes past them, he just nicks the ball round them. It's a bit too easy. I think Norway as defenders knows 1-1, and it wasn't 1-1, probably it was 2-1. So they've got to do better. They've got to crowd them out. They've got to block them to the byline, not allow them to get to the byline.
Well, surely among the biggest threats here, Casemiro in and around the penalty spot, and Gabriel, who has gone to the back post. Norway have brought everybody in red back behind the ball. Again, it's not been vintage Brazil. Not so far anyway. Corner whipped into the near post. It's only half away. The loose ball all dropped to Schjelderup out in the left back area. And the threat disappears and Norway defenders can breathe a sigh of relief for now. Does this performance so far, Mark McGee, add weight to the idea that this isn't a truly great Brazil team?
I think there's so much reliance on Vinicius Junior. You know, they're all standing off because Cunha so far is not really taking part in the game almost. They've not had an up to feet, he's not taking anybody on, he's not had a shot. Norway different. Haaland's not had any shots yet, but there's something different about the way that Norway are playing. There's a confidence about Norway in the way they're playing, and a belief in what they're doing is the right thing for this match, whereas I think what Brazil are doing, they've been forced into by Norway's performance.
Warming up at the moment, 3 or 4 Brazilian players. Out on the right-hand side for Norway is Ryerson, wing position. Back to Ødegaard, back towards the halfway line, and Christopher Ayer. Now Berger. Again, Norway tidy on the ball, but when they reach the final third, lacking the end product that they've largely shown they've got plenty of at this tournament so far. Scored 4 against Iraq, 3 against Senegal, 2 in the round of 32. Good ball by Bob, out to the left-hand side. Sheldon now can drive into the area, tried a low cross, it's turned away at the near post by Rayan. Sheldon reaches the loose ball, he's got good quick feet, but 2 Brazilian players surrounded him, and in the end Danilo gets Brazil a throw.
You expect it to be the other way around, really, for Brazil to be doing this to Norway, to be, keeping possession up round about their box, looking for little angles, looking for little runs down the side, runs behind, and instead it's Norway that are doing that to Brazil. Quite a turnaround.
Nearly an hour gone, and we haven't really had a clear-cut chance in the second half. A miscontrol by Danilo gifts Norway a throw. It's about level with the edge of the penalty area. Muller Wolfer is going to come forward to take it, the full-back. We'll throw it all the way back to Torbjorn Heggen, midway inside the Brazil half. Ødegaard, the number 10, wearing the captain's armband. Square to Berger. Again, continued control of the game for Norway. Brazil only really a threat on the transition at the moment. Schjelderup has played it back to Heggen. Brazil are going to get Endrick into the game shortly. Feels like Ancelotti really does need to make a change. Wide left is Schjelderup for Norway. Faced up by Danilo, left corner of the penalty area, and Danilo again pokes out a leg. It's gone out of play once more, still in that same area, the Norway left wing position. Ball has barely left it in the last couple of minutes, and Ancelotti wants to make the change. You called it, Mark McGee, no surprise, but Cunha is coming off.
Yeah, he's not shown enough. I mean, as a centre-forward myself, you rely on service, of course, and they've not got service into him, but I think that's because of the absence of Paquetá. Martinelli's not able to play in there as a joined-up footballer. He's the one that wants to be in the end of runs, not one that wants to be passing the ball for other people to make runs. So Cunha's not benefited from having Paquetá out there, and it's been difficult for him.
Here comes the stocky but fleet-footed Endrick, Real Madrid player, into the game. Might that bring about, or help bring about, a change of fortunes for Brazil? 0-0 and close to an hour played. Ryerson looks for Bob with his back to goal. Little 1-2 between the two of them again, and Bob will pick out Ødegaard. Ødegaard tried a slide rule pass, is intercepted by Casemiro. Early ball to Vinicius Junior. This is where they're dangerous. He's popped it through to Endrick. What a pass! Endrick, first couple of touches, and he's nudged it wide. Neelan did well, the goalkeeper, out quick to meet him. What a ball by Vinicius Junior. Outside of his foot, one of the passes of the tournament. Endrick was clear, first involvement, first touches, and he couldn't score.
A fantastic pass there, outside of the right foot, coming back into his strut path. Perfectly weighted for him, right in front of him. Instead of that, he has a touch, it kind of bobbles a little bit in him. He has a heavy touch, and he makes an absolute mess of it. That was a huge opportunity. I had that counted.
A really messy finish, wasn't it, from Endrick?
What a pass from Vinicius Junior. Absolute genius.
He is the man for Brazil, the man on which Brazilian hopes seem to rest. Ayer in the centre circle for Norway. That was a warning, though, for the Norwegians. Ståle Solbakkens team, and the head coach is down, a long way down below, his steep drop to the touchline. He's got his tracksuit trousers and white t-shirt on. Norway have the ball with the goalkeeper. Nyland hammers it high down the middle. Now then, Gabriel and Haaland go up for the header. Gabriel nudges it only half away. Loose ball picked up by Ødegaard. He's knocked it wide to Bob. Bob into the penalty area, dancing feet, runs into one challenge, and then Douglas Santos comes across with the second intervention to hoist it away for Brazil. Martinelli, very deep, midway inside his own half. Danilo. Forward ball to Endrick, and a reverse pass that takes a deflection, bounces down for Martinelli. Rather fortunate that Endrick's control isn't bad. He's got his back to goal. He looks up Endrick. He drives forward, shoots from range, and it takes a deflection off Hegem and goes behind for a corner. He looked brighter and sharper there, Mark McGee.
Well, they've brought, he's brought a bit of life to it. They've given it something to find. But when the other they go in the other direction, Norway's ball up to Haaland. Haaland controlled the ball something like 25 yards out, and not only that, but it means that they've dragged the Brazilian defence right back in there. I mean, it's a good ploy.
Casemiro forward again. So too Gabriel. They've loaded the penalty area in the 6-yard box in particular with yellow shirts. Bruno Guimaraes not had the best of days with the delivery, right-footed. Goalkeeper punches it away one-handed. Headed further clear by Oscar Bob. Back into the path of Douglas Santos. He'll chip it to the far post. Gabriel underneath it, heads it down. Red on the half volley. Good save. He saw it through a crowd, the goalkeeper. Had to scoop it clear almost with his right hand.
It was a really good effort, actually. And the keeper did well, but it was a terrific effort.
Saw it through a crowd, didn't he, I think, there,
yeah.
Nyland?
A lovely little layback as well.
Well, that's got the Brazilian fans going. 2 chances, almost in as many minutes. Mexico against England to come live on TalkSport. All the pre-match build-up, full commentary, and then post-match reaction as well. Oh, lovely play by Vinicius Junior. He skinned the defender Ryerson, who might be about to come off, actually. Arsenis is ready to come on. Casemiro from the edge of the D, chips it to the back post, headed down! What a save!
What a save.
Magnificent from Nyland! I think the flag might be up anyway, but it was headed down to Bruno Guimaraes, and it was a miraculous stop.
It was a brilliant save, but it was offside. We could see that from here.
Blank with his left hand, flung it up.
But for the first time in the game, I'm looking at Norway and looking at them like, they're walking, they're feeling the pace, they're feeling the effort that they've put into this game, they're probably feeling the temperature. So there's a little bit of change in the energy of the two teams. Norway, I think, because of the effort they've put in it for the last hour or so, and Brazil has upped their energy because of the introduction of the striker.
Well, Arsenis has replaced Ryerson. I think we all felt that was very possible at some stage. I think that Norway predicted that Ryerson would only last an hour or so, and Arsenis, very experienced. He is a central midfielder, but he's used to playing it right back. We've seen him do that at this tournament. He comes on. So it is 0-0, but Brazil seem to be carrying a real threat since the introduction of Endrick to the attack. Here is Arsenis with his first touch of the game. Crosses halfway, has option square, rolls it into the path of Haaland. A glancing touch on under pressure from Marquinhos. Header away by Gabriel, given away by Bruno Guimaraes.
I don't think the pass was meant for Haaland. I think it was meant for Berg, and he missed it, and therefore it caught Haaland a little bit flat-footed, and he wasn't able to kind of turn the ball round the corner the way he wanted us to keep possession.
20 minutes or so into the second half. We haven't seen an in-game Viking row yet, I don't think, from the Norway fans.
I think the Norway fans, rightly so, are engrossed in their team's performance. We'll see it when they go ahead, when they get a goal.
Well, maybe they're a little nervous, a little edgy now, because Brazil seem to be having the better of the chances. Arsenis with a heavy touch on the halfway line, but he finds Oscar Bob, gets it back from Bob in a very tight area, picks out Ødegaard, back to Berg. Berg over the halfway line, midway into the Brazil half now, picks out a right-footed ball to the left-hand side of Muller-Wolfer. Further wide is Schelderup. Schelderup is held up and has to play it square in the end. Berger to Hegem. Further forward, Muller-Wolfer, out wide again. Schelderup drives in a cross. At the back post was Haaland. Alisson got a glove to it, and it hit Gabriel and goes behind for a corner. That could have bounced anywhere. 0-0.
My goodness, what a clever ball, just sort of hooked in a little bit, so that it's sort of turning towards the goal. And, it could have ended up anywhere. It's a great ball, caused the goalkeeper problems and could just as easily have landed at Haaland's feet.
It nearly did. Is that Neymar coming on for Brazil shortly? That'll get the biggest cheer of the day so far. Nearly 3/4 of the way through the 90 minutes in the round of 16. Corner to Norway. Whipped in left-footed by Martin Ødegaard. Up go the heads. Well dealt with by Brazil. Gabriel is there again. And Danilo Santos is going to come on. The former Forest player. Here come Norway on the attack. Out on the left-hand edge of the penalty area. Oscar Bob is there. Still looking for the opening goal of the game, but Bob and Schelderup have certainly added something to the Norway attack. Oscar Bob pokes it through into the area, across goal! Haaland tried to reach it on the slide. He couldn't get there. And in the end, it's out of play for a goal kick. This game is really starting to liven up. It was Christopher Raya with the ball nudged across goal.
Yeah, but it was a little slide in by Oscar Bob, a clever little ball in behind the lines. He's made the run in, a ball with the outside of his foot, and almost got to Haaland. Oh, it was so close.
Well, here comes Neymar. And on in place of Martinelli. I think we are going to see another Brazil change too. Big cheers for Neymar. Listen to that. Rayan taken off as well, and Danilo Santos replaces him. The first World Cup finals, this for Danilo Santos. The long dyed blonde hair. So it's Danilo Luiz at right back and Danilo Santos taking up a position in midfield as the referee signals the end of the third quarter. We're into the hydration break, and could extra time be in the offing, Mark McGee, because it is still Brazil 0, Norway 0.
Well, the prospect that we have going into this last quarter of the game is the prospect of Neymar and Vinicius Junior combining and on the pitch at the same time. Anything can happen, and it only spells danger for Norway. So I think that Norway are going to be extra vigilant. They're probably going to have to adjust a little bit onto this side in terms of the weight of the defence to prevent them too much space. They also can't afford to be beaten as easily. They've been at times by Vinicius Junior when he's been by, earlier on he went on past Oscar Bob too easily, because one of the times he'll get in, he'll pick somebody out, and it probably will be Neymar. So they have to be a bit more on this side defensively. And up the other end, yep, they've still got the option up to Haaland, but they have shown things. They've got in there a couple of times. That ball at the end when Haaland slid in at the back post, we've seen him doing that so many times, for Manchester City. He was only a whisker away from it, so that'll give them hope. It'll give them positivity, can back out for this last quarter of the game.
You get the sense, Mark, that if Haaland gets a clear-cut opportunity today, he's going to take it. He just seems in that kind of mood.
Well, I think that is his style. He needs one chance and he can take it. He's not a striker like most of us. You need half a dozen to miss before you get one. But Haaland's the type whose percentage of conversion is very, very high. So if they can get the ball in front of him, which he's almost done a couple of times, not just the one sliding in there, but at this end off the long ball from the goalkeeper, and if the goalkeeper maybe once more can catch Gabriel a little bit flat-footed and Haaland can get in, then he can score a goal if he gets the chance for sure.
Well, it really is two heavyweight encounters for you on Talk Sport tonight. Mexico against England, hopefully underway at 1 a.m, weather permitting. If anything comes to us in the way of updates, then we'll let you know as soon as possible here on Talk Sport. Former England captain Stuart Pearce, part of our commentary team at the Azteca. You can have your say post-match on 03717 22344 and keep it Talk Sport for breakfast from 6. All the reaction with Jeff Stelling and Gabby Agbonlahor. Right, the hydration break is just about done. Fascinating game now, isn't it, Mark McGee, at this stage, especially with Neymar now onto the field.
Yeah, well, it's now a game with the time that's left that you can't take your eyes off it either end. You know, if Haaland gets the end of something, or if Neymar or Vinicius Junior getting the end of something.
Neymar with his Brazil yellow boots on. Number 10 has certainly moved furthest forward down the middle. Maddison plays the ball to Marquinhos. Ødegaard putting a very high press on with the help of Haaland, but Brazil worked through it. Danilo, good ball. Danilo Santos from Danilo Luiz. And now Gabriel out to the left-hand side. It's Vinicius Junior who's tucked in his shirt. Early ball to Neymar. Left wing area. Neymar, big roar from the Brazil fans whenever he gets possession. The expectations are so high. He certainly looked lively off the bench against Scotland, and you get the sense Neymar is desperate to make an impact as he floats the ball down the middle, and that is overhit and gathered by Neelan. We're in the 72nd minute. Brazil 0, Norway 0 it remains. One goal may well be enough to send one of these teams into the quarter-finals.
The first goal in a game like this is obviously going to be critical, but you're not quite sure at this stage which one it's going to be. They both have the capability, they both have players out there that can get that goal.
Here come Norway. Martin Ødegaard is one of them. Right of centre, nudges it forward. Haaland on the edge of the D, touch a bit heavy, drops back to Ødegaard. Ødegaard trying to wriggle away from a sea of yellow shirts. He goes down in the area, he's lost possession. Danilo Santos back to Douglas Santos, who'll drive the ball clear of any danger, the left back.
Erling Haaland has to continue to be a wee bit patient. You know, I think that wasn't on. He tried to turn into them there. There was too many bodies there. If it's not on, he's got to, you know, keep playing until he gets that yard that he can then get it to the side and get a shot away.
The Brazil fans dancing away all around the stadium here. Some of them waving their Brazilian flags. But nervousness, no doubt, is the key sense, the key feeling whenever Norway come forward, and Haaland looks very menacing whenever he tries to bear down on goal in this game. Hegam's gone back to Neeland. He's had an outstanding game, the goalkeeper. Arguably a contender for man of the match. Remember that penalty save in the first half. Short ball to Berger. And square pass out to the near side. Ayer needs to get rid of it, does. High ball towards halfway, won by Douglas Santos. Now Danilo Santos, wide to Vinicius Junior. Little chip over the top, chested away by Ayer this time. And then Arshner scoops the ball onto the feet of Ødegaard, who flicks it over Bruno Guimaraes, who then catches Patrick Berg in the middle of midfield, and it's a free kick to Norway. Very difficult game to call at the moment, Mark.
You know, but you know, we're back to that business of playing out from the back, and you know, and almost getting caught, and even the ball forward. Although he didn't get caught, he played the ball forward, but he made it very difficult for Oscar Bob to keep it because it wasn't a good ball. And then Brazil were back at them. They don't need to do that. They've not done that so far. You know, it's rolled out to the middle and they've played out either one side or the other, but not in these corners where Brazil can press and win it back so high up the pitch. They have to be very careful and continue to do what's been good, and not suddenly start to go back to, you know, type in a sense when, you know, league players and Premiership players who want to play out from the back. Keeps doing what they're doing.
They've just done the Viking row, the Norway fans, and there was a Brazil fan sat amongst the red shirts who sat down, totally ignored it, as if it wasn't going on around it. Here is Danilo Santos over the halfway line to Neymar. Neymar wide left, Vinicius Junior looking to maraud to the edge of the penalty area. Couple of step overs, he looks dangerous, rolls the ball square, teed up for Bruno Guimaraes, nudges it wide. Danilo drills in the cross, hits Muller-Wolfer, comes back out to Casemiro, plenty to aim at in the middle. Low ball, poor from Casemiro, hits shoulder up, He smashes it clear, high towards Haaland. He's got Gabriel holding him. They're in a real tussle. Gabriel only gets it half away. Here is Oscar Bob. Suddenly the game is a bit stretched. 0-0 the score. Bob pushes it forward. Ødegaard is after it. Finds Haaland. Back out wide. Shoulder up is there. Onto the right foot. Turned away by Alisson. Good save. Flag stays down.
Brilliant play by Norway. You know, that thing again, not quite up to the edge of the 18-yard line, but even so, it drags the Brazil back four deeper when they play that ball up to Haaland, and then he's able to lay it off, and then some good passing, some good movement, resulting in an excellent opportunity and a decent shot and a good save.
And it's tense in the crowd now. This could go either way. Chances at both ends in the second half. Shelderup with a clever flick to the feet of Berg, and now Ødegaard, and they're popping it about nicely here with confidence, real confidence, Norway. Shelderup's made a massive difference, in particular since he's come on. Ødegaard left corner of the penalty area, out wide again to Shelderup once more. Haaland still waits for his big opportunity with less than 15 minutes of normal time to go. Still 0-0. Sun has come out a bit at the New York, New Jersey Stadium. They've gone wide left again, Norway. Forward to Muller-Wolfer from Shelderup. Muller-Wolfer's cross hits Marquinhos, and he's going to prevent the corner down by the dead ball line. A little floater of a pass over the head of Neymar and all the way through to Aya. Just over 80,000 here, another full house of this 2026 World Cup. Is there a goal coming, I wonder, Mark McGee?
Well, I think Neymar, you know, is going to be most effective when he's playing up round about the Norwegian penalty box, you know, on the halfway line, inside his own half. Having to sort of chase in and do a little bit of work like that is not what he wants to be doing. He wants his team to dominate a little bit so that he's much further up the field and can be effective. So this is great for Norway that they've got Neymar playing, you know, inside his own half.
Such an even game. Brazil 0, Norway 0. Norway, I think, fully living up to their tag as potential dark horses in the tournament so far. But if they were to win, not only would it be historic, but it would really underline their credentials and the possibility that they could go even deeper into the tournament. They'd have to face either Mexico or England in the quarters in Miami. A full commentary of that game from the Azteca coming up on TalkSport. You will not miss a kick of that game with us. On by Neelan, driven high up the middle towards Haaland again. Took a deflection, ball bounces down. Gabriel wrestling with Haaland once more. It's sliced away by Danilo Luiz. It's a throw.
Haaland's doing his best to lean into the defender, to lean into the centre half, and the centre half dropped off there. He dropped his bottom, but he got up quickly.
Ederson Silva, the fullback, coming on for Brazil shortly, just having some words with Ancelotti a long way down below us. This game full of jeopardy. Ødegaard racing across from left to right, and now Arsnes midway inside Brazil territory. Oscar Bob wins Norway a throw. Is there going to be that change now? There is, and it's Bruno Guimaraes. Frustrating day ultimately for him. He goes off.
I think that Guimaraes has done well. I think he's had a decent game. He's been industrious. He's tried to get it going for them. Unfortunately, because of the way Norway have been, he's done most of it on the halfway line, or even to an extent inside his own half. So he's not had the opportunity to dictate the way he'd like to do, thanks to Norway's performance.
Ederson Silva settles down in midfield, been linked with Manchester United. Berg for Norway, out wide to Arsnes again. They continue to dominate the ball, 60% plus possession. Brazil continue to be threatening on the counter-attack, but they can't really get the ball at the moment, Brazil, certainly not holding on to it. Muller-Wolfer down the inside left, wide to Shelderup, only Haaland in the middle. Shelderup's past his man, two in the middle now, swept in towards Haaland! That is the moment he was waiting for! Erling Haaland rises highest and heads Norway into what could be an unassailable lead. Is this their history day? Is he their history boy? Brazil 0, Norway 1. It's Haaland, of course.
Absolutely fantastic, a great bit of play, and finally a cross. I spoke about it at the start of the game. He feeds off crosses, and if you watch the replay, his movement, he's pulled away and he's round the front of them, and he's got a great little header. He's not that high off the ground actually, he's just run round the defender, and he's got a powerful header past the keeper, just headed it into the middle of the goal. Absolutely brilliant, and it's what he does. How many touches has he had now? I don't know, a dozen, and that's his first real sight of goal. Bang, in the back of the net. Fantastic.
Well, the pockets of Norway fans have gone mad. Vintage Erling Haaland. What a downward header into the corner. You knew it was in the moment it left his head. Haaland winning the battle with Gabriel. And a thunderous header beyond Allison. Haaland got above the Arsenal man with ease there, and it's not easy.
A magnificent header, it really is. The power of him, the strength of him, and then, to direct it down where he did, just absolutely brilliant. And now Brazil have a problem because, Norway will counter now off of Haaland. And, with the players that Brazil have on the pitch now, Neymar and in particular, they're not going to counter, they're not going to run away and score a goal. They have to get possession, they have to start to dominate possession.
Here he is again, Haaland, trying to bully Marquinhos. Haaland has risen, and Norway are into the lead in New York, New Jersey, live on TalkSport. 1-0 to the good. And Brazil are facing elimination unless they can score in the next 9 minutes.
Haaland clearly has been energised by his goal. The amount of running he did there was probably more than he's done in the entire game.
He is absolutely priceless. 6th goal of this World Cup, and he's only one behind Messi and Mbappe in the race for the Golden Boot. Can anybody stop him? Vinicius Jr. has won Brazil a slightly cheap corner off Oscar Bob.
Well, we know how good a player Gabriel is, and Haaland's bullied him there. He's just got round him, got above him, and not allowed him to get off the ground, not allowed him to defend the cross. It was a brilliant cross, the type of cross he's been waiting all afternoon for, but he is patient, he has been patient, and he got his goal.
Neymar to take a Brazil corner on the near side of the field. Ancelotti knows that time is running out. Brazil in desperate need of a quick response here to that Erling Haaland goal. Neymar with the in-swinging delivery, and it loops up into the air off Ayer, I think, and behind for another corner.
It's good delivery, the type of delivery that forces you to defend. We've seen a couple of corners that have ended up one too long, ending up running out the far side. That was a good corner that forced them to defend it.
Neymar again delivers into the near post, header away by Arsnes, took it off the gloves of his goalkeeper. Norway have a lead to defend now, live on TalkSport. 1-0 against Brazil. Brazil whip across into the penalty area. Haaland is there to head it away. Now Neymar brings it down, angle very tight, angle against it. Neymar shuffles his feet, twists inside, and again, good run by Neymar, blocked off in the end by the stretch, the slide of Patrick Berg. That was nearly Neymar rolling back the years.
Norway don't need to get in a panic about crosses. Norway can defend crosses. They've got a height advantage.
Oh, Oscar Bob, he's won it back. Haaland ahead of him. Chance here for Norway. Schelderup down the left-hand side. 3 against 3 on the counter-attack. Schelderup goes forward, finds Bob, edge of the penalty area. He's held it up, and he's gone back to Berg, and the Norway attack has slowed. Leading 1-0. Schelderup to Bob again. Bob from 25 yards, out to Martin Ødegaard. Well, there were 2 or 3 times there where I thought they were going to get a shot away, Norway, and they didn't in the end. They go back to the halfway line with a lead to protect. What a performance from this Norway team, Mark McGee.
Superb performance, and they've inflicted it on Brazil. It's not that we talk about this not being the best Brazil. These are Brazilians, these are good players, they're a good team. But Norway have really dominated this game from the very start, and then of course they almost shot themselves in the foot after not very long when they gave away the penalty. They got away with that, and we have to say that it was a shocking miss, but they've come through that moment, and they've dominated the game since.
Brazil had to come back against Japan in the round of 32. They will have to here, because Haaland has scored in a 14th consecutive international game. He's now scored, Haaland, in 5 of his last 6 meetings with Gabriel, and he got above Gabriel for what could be the winner.
Like we said, it wasn't a towering header, it was his movement and his strength in not allowing Gabriel to get off the ground.
Oh, that could be an own goal! What a save! Backpedaling Neeland to tip it onto the post. Save of the tournament right there from Ian Neeland. Brazil still on the attack. Miraculous. The agility of a cat from Neeland. Header away by Aya. They're still on the attack here, Brazil. Vinicius Junior, left corner of the penalty area. Casemiro! Across goal, and nobody gets the vital touch. Ian Neeland has just produced a miracle save for Norway.
That was unbelievable save, and to get it onto the post at the end here, Casemiro's ball across, it's just far too hard. You know, he needs to just leave it in there a little bit and invite somebody onto him, but the goalkeeper's made an absolutely fabulous save.
He's gone down, Neeland. Fingertips onto the post. I think it might have come off Aya, spiralling high towards the far corner. It would have been a dreadful way for Norway to concede an equaliser, but their goalkeeper has produced sheer heroics with the athleticism of a gymnast combined.
Absolutely, you're right, Joe. You know, the way he moved his feet there, you know, across his own 6-yard box to get to it, to time it, to get to that touch that put it onto the post was absolutely fabulous.
Well, Haaland's impact at one end, Neeland's impact at the other, just as important. Brazil not giving it up yet. 1-0 down, 3.5 minutes of normal time to play. Haaland's touch, clever touch, over the halfway line to Patrick Berg. He'll scamper forward. Sheldrup, who set up the goal, is in support. Berg rolls it square to Ødegaard. Beware Erling Haaland. And beware Haaland, England. Should England beat Mexico at the Azteca? Martin Ødegaard, we know all about him, of course, but his goal threat is just so potent. Here is Bob, racing into the area, great flick by Ødegaard. Ødegaard at a tight angle, right-footed shot, turned away at the near post for a corner. Brilliant play by Ødegaard, and he really whips up the Norway fans. He turned on a sixpence there, and it's that sort of shuffling footwork that Ødegaard has become renowned for during his time at Arsenal. He's such a gifted technician.
He's been fantastic today. Oscar Bob has made a big contribution as well. You know, he's picked it up and he's got himself inside the box, which is always the right thing to do. It then makes it dangerous for Brazil to make a challenge. And it was him and his forcefulness that allowed Ødegaard to get that little run and the shot.
Corner taken short by Norway. They certainly don't need to force the issue. They'd rather keep the ball. They go back to the halfway line, and Heggen. Edge of your seat stuff on Talk Sport. Brazil 0, Norway 1. 2 minutes to go, plus added time. England against Mexico to follow. Thunderous ball from the goalkeeper, takes one bounce and goes through to Addison. Can still see that Erling Haaland header on the edge of the 6-yard box, leaping so majestically to nod it down and in, and it had to be a good header to beat Addison, and it was.
But when we saw the quality of the cross coming in, right away you know the likelihood it is he'll be challenging for it at worst. And then of course his movement gets him ahead of Gabriel, and he plants the header brilliantly.
Brazil go wide, Vinny Junior, in comes Arshnus, does really well with a robust challenge. The loose ball hits Vinicius Junior and goes behind. Can even he not save Brazil here?
Joe, every aspect of Norway's performance, the passing and the movement around the passing, you know, ahead of the ball, behind the ball, alongside, people keep possession under pressure, has been fantastic.
Good flick by Haaland down the left-hand side. Sheldrup gets the loose ball ahead of Marquinhos. Back to Erling Haaland. Left-footed shot! He's picked up the corner! Erling Haaland, you beauty! He struck it left-footed like an arrow into the net. The substitutes race onto the pitch. It's Norway into the quarter-finals. Brazil are heading out. Hats off Haaland. Brazil 0, Norway 2.
Absolutely ridiculous. You know, what can I say? I mean, you know, there are no words to describe how good that goal was and how significant it is, obviously, in the game. But, you know, to be doing this with that quality in a game like this puts them right up there. Unbelievably good.
Well, this is the stuff of Norwegian legend. Erling Haaland from the edge of the area. It flashed low beyond Alisson, nestled into the corner. He has struck again. And Norway appear now, as we go into 7 minutes of added time, to be cruising into the quarter-finals with their main man, their danger man, right at the heart of it.
And Joe, thoroughly deserved. They've earned this position to get ahead 2 goals. They are 2 goals better today than Brazil, without any shadow of a doubt. You need a guy like Haaland to produce the end of it, of course, but we know he can do that, and therefore all of the play, all of the patience has paid off, and he's returned.
I can barely remember seeing a more impactful individual performance at a...
And now he's let his hair down. Does that make him better or worse? I don't know.
Yes, he's taken off the hairband, hasn't he? And his long hair's flowing in the wind. And he's on a hat-trick against Brazil. It's 2-0 to Norway. And we are into those 7 minutes of added time. But this game is surely over. Brazil are surely done at this World Cup, thanks to Erling Haaland. Got the sense he fancied a long-range effort, and so it proved. Endrick for Brazil, darting infield. It's too little too late, surely, as the ball is nudged clear by Berger. Almost playing with a back 5 now, Norway. Aya makes a good interception on the stretch. The loose ball has come to Vinicius Jr., rolls it square, and Danilo Santos can't pop it through. They're on the counter again here, Norway. Danilo Santos wins it back, but then loses out to Berg, who is a very cool customer in the middle of midfield, and he shuffles over the halfway line with Haaland to his right. Well, at this stage, you wouldn't even be surprised if he got a hat-trick.
Well, I'd love him to get a hat-trick. You know, I love moments like this and tournaments like this. It's, you know, like Dembele's hat-trick. Regardless, it was a fantastic thing to see. And as a centre-forward, I love hat-tricks. So yeah, give him a couple of minutes and let's hope he gets one. But most importantly, you know, he's got 2. He's put his team ahead, and it looks like they're going through.
Norway want to get defender Leo Østigard onto the field. Neymar has the ball midway inside opposition territory. Sweeping ball wide to the far side. Ederson Silva with the cross. It's over the head of everybody, including Gabriel in the penalty area. Hammered away by Arsnes. And Haaland, who's tied his hair back again, applauds, having taken in all the joy of the celebrations in front of the Norway fans moments earlier. 2 goals, 1 thumping header, 1 left-footed drive, and he's been much too good. Too hot for Gabriel and Marquinhos to handle.
When he scored the second goal there, I don't know quite what it is in his face, but it looks as if sometimes he looks as if he's surprised himself. You know, he looks the way he was, like, astonished that he had just done that, but it was, you know, outstanding.
Ederson Silva with a drive for Brazil. That's charged down. 3.5 minutes into 7 added, so halfway through. Danilo Santos with a very heavy touch. And this Brazil team, you'd argue, deserve to be going home. Norway have out-footballed Brazil in the second half.
The play has been fantastic. You know, it's been precise. There's been that precision, the speed of the passing, the speed of the movement. As I said, retaining possession under pressure. 1v1s around the corner. They've kept it. Oscar Blov's come on and made a really good contribution. Berg in the middle has been brilliant. Østigard has been absolutely outstanding, and of course Haaland with his goals.
And Leo Ostigard is taken to the field. Muller-Wolfer comes off, flicked by Odegaard, shoulder up nearly in goes Gabriel, launches it high, header away by Douglas Santos. Ostigard for Muller-Wolfer, who might be a potential injury concern. He's limping his way round the pitch at the moment for that quarter-final to come. Can they get another here, Norway, and make it their dream day? Odegaard down by the dead ball line. Odegaard twists and plays it back to Harshness. Haaland rates in the middle for a cross. 5 crew, 7 added. Sander Berger in behind down the right-hand side. Tees it across. Cleared away by Edison Silva. Brazil in danger of collapsing here. Now the ball is with Berg. Lovely quick feet by Berg, and likewise Bob. It's as though the yellow shirts are no longer there. Foul by Neymar. He's going to get a yellow card. That was a poor challenge on Martin Odegaard, who punches the air with delight. Premier League winner with Arsenal. And now a World Cup quarter-final beckons for the captain and for his country.
I mean, dare I say it, you know, Norway's performance has been like Brazilian. You know, are you watching Brazil? They have been absolutely, in every aspect of their play, have been way ahead of the Brazilians.
Yellow for Neymar. And a free kick here to Norway over on the right corner of the penalty area. England against Mexico to come on Talk Sport. The winners will face Norway in Miami.
They're surely going to put this in. I know they want to keep possession, see out the last minute. I want to see them put it in there. Even if he's only one in there, let's see if 1v1 or 1v3 or 1v4 he can get in the end of it and get a hat-trick.
But he has gone backwards, though Haaland still waits in the middle. Last few seconds here. Brazil are frustrated now, and Gabriel gets involved, and so too does Neymar as Hegem and Ayer come across. There are players from both sides, including a couple of Brazil subs who've run onto the pitch to try and defuse the situation. A couple of subs from both sides now. Referee just steps into the middle of it all to try and calm things down, this mini melee out in the Brazil left-back position. But it's all over for now, and it's going to be all over for Brazil at this World Cup. Another 4 years of hurt for Brazil. The World Cup drought is going to continue.
And Neymar's frustration, he knows this is his swan song, this is his last moment at the World Cup.
Yes, it is surely all over for Neymar, who would be 38 at the next World Cup. Whistles from the Norway fans, they're nearly there. Forward by Douglas Santos for Brazil. Casemiro is up, headed away by Hegem. Norway have got it back again. We've had the 7 minutes of added time. Header on the halfway line by Danilo Luiz. Free kick to Brazil for a foul on Casemiro. Added time on added time. This is Talk Sport. It's Brazil 0, Norway 2 in New York, New Jersey. New York, the city where so many dreams are made. And Norway dreams about to come true here. They're about to be in the quarters of the World Cup, though the referee has he given a penalty here, the referee? He's certainly given handball. It was right on the edge of the penalty area, and in the very last seconds of added time, Ostigard jumped. Well, seemed to head it away, but caught the Brazil man with his arm.
Yeah, he motioned, the referee motioned towards his own elbow as if he was giving it for an elbow.
Well, Neelan won't give the ball back, and I think he has given a penalty here, the referee, right at the very end of the game, in the 9th minute of added time. And surely this would be nothing more than a consolation, but it is a Brazil spot kick. He's placed the ball down, the referee. There's barely enough time to take it, and Norway are maybe making the point that the game should be over. VAR will check this. Ostigard, well, he catches Casemiro with his arm, does he? As he jumps? I'm sure the referee initially gave that for handball.
Well, the goalkeeper saved one already, so you never know.
He has. Neelan denied Bruno Guimaraes in the first half. Neymar stepping up for Brazil, looking for his 80th goal in the famous yellow, the all-time top scorer for Brazil. Surely it's too late for them to mount a comeback. 2-0 to Norway. And Neymar.
Will it be a Panenka? Will he blast it? Will he stutter? Will the keeper do what he's done before? Run-up. Read it.
He dances up and down on his line. Neeland. Neymar suddenly curves his run-up. Neymar staggers forward. It's a stutter again. It's right-footed and he rolls it in. And Brazil have a very late goal right at the end of the game. Neymar not happy with the goalkeeper. There were words exchanged between the two, but he rolls it in with Neeland statuesque. Brazil 1, Norway 2, but it looks like it's probably too late.
Surely it's too late. Even the time that will be added on a minute or so, whatever, for the penalty, I think that's all gone, and I think the referee will blow the whistle as soon as the ball moves.
Neymar's first goal for Brazil since September 2023. But surely there is no time left. Very over-fussy and officious, this referee at times. He's calling the captains over now, Marquinhos and Ødegaard. It's a bit late for a last warning for everybody. We're 9 minutes into added time. Norway have got a kick-off to take, back to Neeland. And is the referee going to want them to take it again? I think he is. So we'll have a restart. What a bizarre end to this game. Brazil 1, Norway 2.
What is going on?
It goes back to Neeland again. Still we play on. 11 minutes of added time have been played. Only 7 were added. Neymar plays it through the middle. Diving header by Aya. Not very far away. In by Casemiro. Gathered by Neeland. And that surely is going to be that. And still we play on. Neeland thumps the ball upfield. He's looked at his watch, the referee. High towards Haaland. Haaland trying to get it under control. Marquinhos brings it down, and that is it! Haaland made history for Norway! A first ever World Cup quarter-final beckons. Brazil are out, and the Norwegian golden generation are delivering on their promise. Erling Haaland with the 2 crucial goals. He is the man for the big occasion, and he's proving it on the biggest stage of all. Norway much too good for Brazil. Carlo Ancelotti's team crash out of the competition. Their World Cup drought goes on, but surely Norway are genuine contenders now. If they didn't believe it before, they surely win at this point. Mexico or England awaits in the last 8, and with Haaland around, this Norway side will believe they can beat anyone. 2 goals for the big man in the second half. The first a trademark thumping header, the second a drive across the dive of Allison. Emotional scenes now as Stana Solbakken hugs his family in the stands. Neymar's late penalty, not enough for Brazil. An ignominious day for them. The Seleção once again knocked out early at a World Cup. But for Norway, this is a delight. This is a dream. This is history unfolding itself in front of our very eyes. Brazil 1, Norway 2.
Joe, Shannon, thank you very much. Of course, the original Vikings often loved to raid, didn't they, in their pillages back in the day. Well, fast forward to this modern Viking team, and my goodness, they've raided Brazil and have advanced to the quarter-finals. What a brilliant game of football in that second half in particular. And what a great performance from Norway, Mark McGee.
I loved every minute of it. First half, second half, yeah. The possession, I loved the possession. Never mind the fact they've ended up getting the 2 goals, and we'll talk about Haaland in a minute. But their performance as a team, You know, they covered every blade of grass. They worked hard for each other. You know, Berg in the middle of the park. You know, Ostergaard was, you know, what a player he is. What a player he is. You know, never gives the ball away, keeps it, you know, bosses his team, changes direction, everything right about it. And of course, at the end of it, they've then got this machine that is Haaland. And, you know, he strikes you when you watch him, his reaction. When he scores, he almost looks as if, as I said earlier, that as if he's surprised at himself. But at the end, he looks, you know, he's so humble and modest about it, looks almost embarrassed, you know, that he's part of this. It's just amazing that, you know, a player of that stature, you know, can show that sort of modesty. It's just brilliant.
It was quite nonchalant the way he sort of took that goal and even celebrated that goal as well. And yet again, there were tears. You pointed it out to me. You got quite emotional seeing that. It is these sporting moments that brings it out of you.
Who can? You know, I don't understand people who don't get emotional about sport. You know, and I'm not talking about just about football. You know, great sportsmen are, you know, are a thing to behold. Whatever sport it is, done at the top level. And today, there is no doubt about it. We cannot, discount the fact that Norway can win the World Cup. You know, playing as well as that as they did in the second half, come up against France. I can't see that there's a huge difference between France and what I've seen with Norway tonight.
The way they controlled that second half in particular, I mean, the substitutions at half-time clearly worked for Ståle Solback. And Neymar, by the way, we're seeing him in floods of tears on our screens. So much was he, of course, wanted by the Brazilian fans to be included in this squad, and unfortunately injuries has hampered his chances of making a proper impact, of course scoring in this game, but it was too late for them really to get back into this game. And contrasting scenes to what we're seeing from Norway, who are just bouncing around with sheer delight knowing that they have achieved history by reaching the quarterfinals of this World Cup for the very first time.
Erling Haaland's shaking his head, and he's, you know, it's a shaking the head of, I can't believe we've just done that. I can't believe we've just played as well as that. I can't believe I've scored 2 goals. I can't believe that we're still in the World Cup. We've beaten Brazil and we're going on to the next round. It's fantastic.
But in some ways we shouldn't be surprised by this Norway team, because even if you just look at qualifying, and I know qualifying for this campaign to get into the World Cup isn't always the barometer, because a team can qualify and then fail in the group stages, but they were the best team in European qualifying. They scored 37 goals in qualifying. Okay, you can argue who were the teams they played against. Well, Italy, who, yes, okay, haven't been able to qualify for a World Cup in recent editions. There were Israel and Estonia, Moldova in there as well. But you can only play who's in front of you, and 37 goals in 8 games is just so mightily impressive. And they just continue to just show the force that they can be out there.
And that should have been a warning to people coming here that they were bringing something special with them. And today, you know, that'll be as well as any Norwegian team has ever played in their international history. I can't imagine that there's been a performance from any team from Norway that's been as good as that.
As is tradition, when they win a game, we've been hearing the Viking Row, of course we've heard that, where normally there is a fan in the stand who leads the drumming. Well, normally Martin Ødegaard does it, because he is the captain, but he has passed on that privilege to Erling Haaland, who once again, he looks a little bit shy, looks a little bit embarrassed in some ways to do it. But it's such a huge occasion for him, such a huge occasion for Norway too. So all of his teammates are sat down as they gather to do the Viking Row in front of that Viking fan base.
And all the staff and everyone involved. The manager's down there.
He's taking his time. He's enjoying this moment, really, is Erling Haaland. But it is one... It's keeping everyone in suspense. What a privilege for him to do this in front of that fan base as well. celebrations. It moves him on to 7 World Cup goals now, Erling Haaland. He's level with Mbappe, he's level with Messi, 2 players that know what it's like to play on the world stage. Very different for this Norway and Haaland, of course. And one player I think deserves a lot of credit too was Andreas Schelderup, because he provided both assists for Haaland, came on at half-time too. It'll be Haaland that gets the plaudits, but Joe Shannon